So, instead of looking for a way to overpower him, we decided to help Columbina get strong enough to at least stand up to him in a fight. For this to work, we had to analyze his modes of attack, confirm who his main target was, and make sure that he wouldn't go beyond the range of the alchemical array. For added security, we prepared a total of 4 arrays. But to mitigate the impact of the battle, we identified one location in particular as the ideal spot. The alchemical array absorbed his abyssal power. Then Durin processed it to render it usable by Columbina. That power enabled her to do what would otherwise have been nigh on impossible.
What surprised me was that Dainsleif actually agreed to join us. Given his history with Rerir, he had every right to sit this one out, but we're extremely grateful for the decision he made.
It must have been a painful choice to make. But I'm sure that making a decision was far better for him than...
Absolutely. He was torn between 2 paths, but in the end, he made his choice and stuck to it resolutely. He doesn't strike me as the sort of person who'd stay trapped in limbo for long. Anyway, however you cut it, everyone gave a stellar performance. And now...
That's the only reason you're here.
Yes, I've thought a lot about it. And I've realized that you, me, and Arlecchino should be... I think this is very important. So I felt I had to come and tell you.
Well, this is a new one. I'm so moved. I can't even hold my teacup. If that's all, you can leave now.
Do you not want to be friends with me? Or is it that you prefer being co-workers?
What is this, Columbina? Are you deliberately testing my patience threshold? Right now, my politeness module is active. But if you say another word, I swear I'll shut it down.
If your politeness module was active, wouldn't you say the word please at some point?
Paulownia, please see Lady Columbina to the door.
Will you still invite me to your next tea party?
What?
Yes, I think you will. Bye-bye, dear Sandrone.
Last time, the Wild Hunt escorted you out. Would you rather I handled it myself this time?
We just wanted to, see how you were doing now that it's all over.
Why? Out of concern for my safety? I hope you didn't seriously think that the Rayhir of Solnari would be able to lay so much as a finger upon me, given how prepared I was.
Mostly because you kind of helped us out, so we just wanted to check you were okay. Looks like all your robots are fixed, huh?
Oh, don't you worry about that. Tea time is already a write-off. The visitor before you managed to kill my appetite. If you're in the mood for tea, go ahead and help yourself. Otherwise, it's going to waste. My coasters are still missing in action, though. Use this notebook instead.
Whoa! Pretty hefty notebook. Look at all those
You can ignore those. They're just dumb scribblings. I doodle and write in my free time. Sometimes I remember the distant dreamlike past. Sometimes I imagine the far-flung future. And other times, I grit my teeth and note down all the crazy nonsense going on in the present. Some people do the crosswords in the newspaper. This is my equivalent of that. Trying to predict the future is like daydreaming, and writing about the present just makes me furious. The past is my favorite. If nothing else, it's already set in stone, so I don't have to write. Although, having said that, the only vaguely interesting memory in my past is probably that guy they call Lord Artificer. Who else? Pretty much all the mecha and Fontaine are his personal handiwork.
Wait, are you saying you know him? Like,
I mean, I guess we were friendly enough. Yep. In fact, I'm probably the only normal person left who knew him at all. We used to chat occasionally back when he was still around. Before he passed away, he asked me to destroy all his manuscripts. I honored his request, but I did read through everything first before destroying. I mean, I couldn't let the genius of Lord Artificer Alain Guillotin disappear like that. Would have been such a waste.
so... that's where the formula's in your notebook?
I just told you. Those are my equivalent of crossword puzzles. They're just dumb formulas that I solve for fun when I'm bored. Alain's work was like epic poetry. The formulas in my notebook are just silly. Not that there's anything bad. Anyway, while we're on the topic, Alain Guillotin had two close buddies, Renee and Jacob. They spent their childhood years together, and they were all quite competitive. So there was some rivalry between them, but it was a friendly rivalry. But beneath the friendship and the rivalry ran something deeper, a sense of nostalgia for the past. Unfortunately, childhood would end, the prophecy would come true, the apocalypse would arrive, and the future would never be. A mad dream that would normally only capture the minds of lunatics began to take... And if Renee and Alain had been people of lesser wits, but alas, they were some of the sharpest minds around. They nurtured that dream with the full power of their The first of them to fall under its spell was Renee. Against Alain's wishes, he persisted in experimenting on a mutual friend of theirs to try and save their life. Alain did not approve. It's complicated. Alain wanted to believe that Renee only did what he did for the sake of their friendship. But perhaps the seed that would grow into a nightmare had already sprouted in Renee's mind. Even then. The next time they met, Renee's soul had been completely engulfed by the dream of salvation. His futile attempt to change the tide of fate only resulted in a wave that swallowed up the world. And although that wave died down eventually, I hear that it just recently came back with a vengeance. As I understand, Renee wanted to live out his dream of salvation once more. But I'm told that the attempted What do you think of Renee? Do you admire his transcendent gene, or do you despise him? Same difference, really. Just a matter of perspective. What a cop-out. But I don't like fanatics. Maybe I could Anyway, that's enough. He managed to put a stop to the first storm whipped up by Renee. To his credit, I suppose. After that, the only thing supporting his work was the same dream that had... But although the desire to save Fontaine drove him to found the Fontaine Research Institute, Alain continued to reject any form of trend. I think that formulas and machines derived solely from human intellect. Yet Alain's intellect was simply too great. Once he realized that the end of his life was approaching, he finally accepted the truth. He quit working on his formulas, trading them in for the fairy tales that had played such a formative role in his childhood. He told me that the director of the Narzissenkreuz Institute used to read those fairy tales to the children as bedtime stories. I think that all he wanted at that time in his life was to be able to sleep deeply without being plagued by depression. At the very end, he laid down to rest in the ruins of the former Narzissenkreuz Institute orphanage, while the Fontaine Research Institute he had founded. Many years after that, tensions over competing dreams would once again cause a rift, this time between members of the Fontaine Research and that is the story of two people. One went all in on his fantasy of salvation, with the other sought desperately to burn bright in his life, even though he wasn't. I do sometimes wonder, why is even the grandest tree starts as a tiny seed? So perhaps, for each of them, their mission to save the world began with a very simple. They were young children with friends and family who mattered to them, desires to explore the meaning of life. Or maybe they just wanted to find something to anchor themselves within the chaos. But instead, the search for their own salvation took them down the rocky road laid out by fate. Do you think the desire to save oneself is enough of a justification to try and save the world? Sensible answer. Glad to know you've got your head screwed on straight. Alain would disagree, though. I asked him the same question back when he was in his prime, putting all of his energy into his work. Yes, it's enough. No elaboration, just a quick, short answer before getting right back to his work. He was, all right, tea time's over. I owe Arlecchino a favor for telling me these stories. I'll have to bring a whole sack of gifts the next time I visit the House of the Hearth. I'm gonna go tinker with Polonia now. You guys can do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't involve interrupting me. Polonia, exit hibernation mode. Begin diagnostics.